I want you to imagine standing in an airport terminal, suitcase in hand, watching your phone screen as your entire family celebrates the wedding you just got uninvited from. Now imagine discovering that same family owes you nearly $400,000. Money they conveniently forgot about when they decided you weren't worth a seat at their table. That was me 6 months ago. Today, I'm dictating this story from my oceanfront terrace in Costa Rica, while my family back home scrambles to pay their debts to the poor old aunt they thought they could throw away. But before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing. It helps give me the strength to speak my truth. Now let's get into my story. Because if you've ever been taken for granted by people who should love you most, you're going to want to hear how this ends. My name is Margaret, and at 62 I thought I'd seen everything life could throw at me. For 30 years I'd been the family's reliable aunt, the one who never married, never had kids of my own, but somehow became everyone else's safety net. When my nephew needed college tuition, guess who wrote the check? When my sister lost her job during the recession, who covered her mortgage for 8 months? When my brother's business was failing, who provided the loan that was never repaid? That would be me. Good old Aunt Margaret, with her modest lifestyle and her generous heart. What none of them knew, what I'd kept carefully hidden for decades, was just how well my quiet investments and frugal living had served me. While they saw a simple woman living in a small apartment driving an old car, and wearing the same coat for 10 years, I was actually sitting on a portfolio worth over $2 million. My late father had taught me about real estate and stocks before he died, and I'd spent 40 years quietly building wealth while my siblings and their children spent every penny they earned. I lived simply by choice, not necessity, but I let them think otherwise because honestly it made family gatherings more peaceful. No one asks the poor aunt for money they know she doesn't have. My sister Sarah was the golden child growing up. Beautiful, charming, the one who got married and had the perfect family. At least that's how it looked from the outside. Her daughter Emma was getting married, and I'd been looking forward to this wedding for months. Emma had been my favorite niece, the one who called me just to chat, who remembered my birthday, who seemed to genuinely care about her old aunt. I'd offered to pay for the flowers, a $3,000 gesture that I presented as a major sacrifice on my part. It's my retirement savings, I told Sarah with a sigh, but Emma deserves a perfect day. Sarah had hugged me tearfully, telling everyone what a saint I was for giving up so much. The truth? $3,000 was what I made in interest every few days. But the performance was important. Kept me safe, invisible, underestimated. The call came 3 days before the wedding. I was at the airport, about to board my flight from Seattle to Dallas, when my phone rang. Aunt Margaret. Emma's voice was strange, distant. I need to talk to you about the wedding. My stomach dropped. What's wrong, honey? Are you okay? I'm fine, it's just, well, we've had to make some changes. The venue had some restrictions we didn't know about, and we had to cut the guest list way down. Like way down. I felt the first cold finger of dread. Cut it how much? To just immediate family. Parents, siblings, grandparents. That's it. I stood there in the boarding area. People rushing past me, trying to process what she was saying. But Emma, I've already flown here. I'm literally about to get on the plane. I know, and I'm so sorry. But don't worry. We're going to live stream the whole thing. You'll be able to watch everything, and it'll be almost like being there. Almost like being there. I closed my eyes, feeling something die inside my chest. Emma, I said carefully, when did you find out about these restrictions? A pause. Too long of a pause. Yesterday? Maybe the day before? It's all been such a whirlwind. And it took you until now to call me? While I'm about to board a plane. I'm sorry, Aunt Margaret. I know it's last minute, but who else got uninvited, Emma? Another pause. What do you mean? I mean, who else besides me got cut from the guest list? Well, it's complicated. We had to make really hard choices. Emma, who else? Silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally she spoke, and her voice was different now. Cooler. More like her mother's. Look, Aunt Margaret, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you're not immediate family. You're extended family. And with the restrictions. Extended family. I'd raised this girl during summers, taken her on vacations her parents couldn't afford, been there for every graduation, every heartbreak, every milestone. I just paid for her wedding flowers for God's sake. I see, I said quietly. And the live stream link. I'll send it to you. I really am sorry. I know this is disappointing. Disappointing. That's what she called it. Disappointing. I hung up and immediately called my sister Sarah. It went straight to voicemail. I called my brother Tom. Same thing. I sent texts to my other nieces and nephews, the ones I'd helped through college, through divorces, through financial crises. Nothing. Radio silence. I sat down heavily in an airport chair, finally understanding what was happening. This wasn't about venue restrictions. This was orchestrated. This was planned. And the timing, calling me when I was already at the airport when it was too late to change my mind about coming, that was calculated too. They wanted me here but not at the wedding. They wanted me close enough to babysit any last-minute crises, available for any unexpected expenses, but not important enough to actually include in the celebration. I was their emergency fund with legs, their backup plan, their safety net, not their family. I did something I hadn't done in 20 years. I called my financial advisor from the airport. David? It's Margaret Chen. I need you to pull together a complete portfolio summary and send it to my email. Everything. Real estate, stocks, bonds, cash accounts. I need to see the full picture. Margaret, is everything okay? You sound. I'm fine. Just send me the numbers. While I waited for his email, I bought the most expensive coffee in the airport and sat in a quiet corner thinking, really thinking for the first time in years, about what I'd been doing with my life. My phone buzzed. David's email had arrived. Total net worth. $2,847,000. I owned 4 rental properties across 3 states. I had blue-chip stocks that had been quietly growing for decades. I had municipal bonds, a small business investment, and enough liquid cash to buy a house outright. More importantly, I was the executor of my mother's estate. An estate my siblings thought was worthless because Mom had lived so simply. What they didn't know was that Mom had been even better at hiding wealth than I was. Her little house sat on 3 acres in what was now prime real estate territory. The contents of her safety deposit box would have shocked them speechless. And then there were the loans. Oh, the loans I'd made over the years. I opened my laptop and started making a list. Tom's business loan. $45,000, supposedly paid back, but I only received $12,000. Sarah's mortgage payments. $38,400, never repaid. Emma's college fund. $25,000, my contribution to her education. Various family emergencies over the years. $73,000. All documented. All with my careful records and their grateful promises to pay me back someday. Someday had arrived. I made another call. Hello, is this Richardson Martinez and Associates? I need to speak with someone about debt collection and family law. I didn't go home. Instead, I rented a car and drove to Emma's wedding venue. A gorgeous country club that definitely didn't have any restrictions on guest lists. I parked across the street and watched the cars arrive. Luxury vehicles, designer outfits, no expense spared. I counted at least 80 guests. 80 people at a wedding that was supposedly limited to immediate family only. I recognized Emma's college friends, co-workers, distant relatives I'd met at other family gatherings. I saw my ex-nephew-in-law Mark, who'd been divorced from the family for 3 years. I saw neighbors, family friends, even Emma's old high school teacher. But no Aunt Margaret. I took pictures. Lots of pictures. Video too of all these immediate family members I'd apparently never met. Then I drove to my lawyer's office. Yes, on a Saturday. Yes, at premium rates. Money was no longer an object. I want to call in every loan I've made to my family over the past 15 years. I told Rebecca Martinez, one of the most ruthless attorneys in the city. All of them. With interest calculated at the legal maximum. Margaret, are you sure about this? Family disputes can get very ugly very quickly. Rebecca, let me show you something. I played the videos from the wedding venue. I showed her the screenshots of my nephew posting on social media about the amazing family celebration. While I sat in an airport being told the venue was restricted. They counted on me being too polite, too accommodating, too grateful for their scraps of attention to ever fight back. They were wrong. We spent 3 hours going through documentation. Every loan, every gift, every time I'd been their financial fairy godmother, had been carefully recorded in my meticulous files. The total came to $247,000. With legally allowable interest and penalties for non-payment, the number climbed to $390,000. I also want to transfer ownership of all my mother's estate assets to a trust, I continued. My siblings have always assumed they'd inherit equally. I want to make sure they understand that assumptions can be dangerous. Rebecca smiled, the kind of smile that made prosecutors nervous. I think we can arrange that. The registered letters went out the Tuesday after the wedding. Each family member received a formal demand for immediate repayment of all outstanding loans, with documentation attached. My phone started ringing before noon. Sarah called first, screaming, "Margaret, what the hell is this? You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. You owe me $38,400 for the mortgage payments I made during your unemployment, plus interest. The total is $52,000, due in 30 days. Those were gifts. You said." "I said I'd help you out temporarily. Temporarily means temporarily. I have your text messages saying you'd pay me back when you got on your feet. You've been on your feet for 8 years now. I can't pay that. You know I can't pay that. That's unfortunate. My attorney will be in touch about payment arrangements." Tom was next. His reaction was more calculated, more manipulative. "Come on, Maggie. This isn't like you. You're family. Family doesn't sue family." "You're absolutely right, Tom. Family doesn't exclude family from weddings either. Family doesn't lie about venue restrictions. Family doesn't take financial help and then treat the helper like a stranger. That wedding thing was Emma's decision, not mine. And yet you were there, weren't you? At the supposedly restricted venue? I have pictures of you toasting the happy couple." Silence. 30 days, Tom. $67,000, including the business loan you defaulted on, and the various emergencies I've covered over the years. Emma called last, crying, "Aunt Margaret, please. I'm sorry about the wedding. I know it was wrong, but Mom said you'd understand. She said you always understand." "I do understand, Emma. I understand that you're all comfortable lying to me as long as I keep paying for the privilege." "It wasn't like that." "What was it like, Emma? Explain to me how calling me at the airport to uninvite me from a wedding I'd already paid for. A wedding with 80 guests, not the tiny gathering you described. Explain to me how that was anything other than calculated cruelty." More crying. "We can work this out. We're family." "No, Emma. Family works things out before they humiliate each other. Family doesn't use people as ATMs and then throw them away when it's convenient." The legal proceedings moved quickly. Rebecca was right, she was very good at her job. Within 60 days, I had liens on properties, wage garnishments in place, and asset freezes on accounts. But the most satisfying moment came when I called a family meeting to discuss my mother's estate. They all came, of course. They'd been waiting 2 years for the estate to be settled, assuming I was just being slow about dividing up Mom's few little things. I met them at Mom's house, the house they thought was worth maybe $200,000 in a dated neighborhood. "I have some news about Mom's estate," I began, watching their eager faces. "First, the house. It's been appraised at $850,000. The neighborhood has been gentrified, and Mom's 3 acres are prime development land." Their eyes lit up. I could practically see them spending their thirds of $850,000. Second, Mom's investments. She was much more financially savvy than any of you realized. Her portfolio is worth approximately $1.2 million. Tom was already calculating. Sarah was grinning. Emma looked relieved. Maybe she could pay off her loan from her inheritance. "Which brings me to the most important point," I continued. "Mom changed her will 6 months before she died. She left everything to me." The silence was profound. "That's impossible," Sarah whispered. I handed out copies of the will. She was very clear about her reasoning. She felt that I was the only one who had ever taken care of family without expecting something in return. She was disappointed that her other children seemed to view her, and me, as sources of money rather than people worthy of respect. You manipulated her, Tom accused. You convinced her to change the will. Actually, she did it without telling me. I found out the same day I found out about Emma's wedding restrictions. Interesting timing, don't you think? I stood up, gathering my papers. The house will be sold. The proceeds, along with Mom's other assets, will go into a charitable trust. I'm establishing the Helen Chun Foundation for Financial Literacy. It will help people learn to manage money, so they don't have to depend on family members they clearly don't respect. Margaret, please, Sarah begged. We're sorry about the wedding. We made a mistake. No, Sarah. A mistake is forgetting to call. A mistake is double booking. What you did was deliberately cruel, and you did it because you thought I'd never fight back. You thought I'd just accept being treated as less than family because I always have before. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and one more thing. I'm moving to Costa Rica. I've bought a beautiful house on the beach, and I'm going to spend my remaining years with people who appreciate kindness rather than exploit it. Don't contact me unless it's through my attorney regarding your outstanding debts. I'm telling you this story overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's been 6 months since I left my old life behind, and I've never been happier. The family paid their debts, well, most of them. Tom had to sell his house. Sarah had to get a second job. Emma's new marriage started with significant financial stress, which I hear caused some interesting tensions with her new husband. But here's the thing that surprised me most. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm free. I volunteer now at a local women's shelter, helping women who've been financially abused learn to manage money and build independence. I've started teaching English to local children. I've made friends who invite me to dinner because they enjoy my company, not because they need something from me. And sometimes, late at night, I get messages from other people who've heard my story through the family grapevine. People who've been taken advantage of by relatives, who've been treated as sources of money rather than human beings worthy of respect. I help them too. Not with money, I'm done being an ATM. But with advice, with legal referrals, with the hard-won knowledge that love should never be conditional on what you can provide. The Helen Chun Foundation is thriving. We've helped over 200 people learn financial independence in just 6 months. Mom would be proud. As for my family, I heard through a mutual friend that they've started being much nicer to their remaining elderly relatives. Apparently, word got around about what happens when you underestimate the quiet ones. I sleep well at night now. My conscience is clear, my bank account is mine alone, and my life is finally, completely, authentically my own. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's getting free. And freedom, I've learned, is priceless.